covering territory management. We actually talked about this on a workshop Wednesday a few weeks ago, but there have been some improvements to the feature that we wanted to share. And just since it's new, a lot of people haven't seen it. So Map My Customers built a feature to see and manage your territories within MMC. As Kim will show, it lays out the territories on a map. And then there's lots of other great things you can do as far as getting insights about the territories, the companies and people and records within those territories using some of our features and managing those. So what this does is it allows you to see just the geographic grouping of territories, whether it's zip codes or counties on the map, the companies within them, and see, are these territories well balanced in relation to your sales team? Are they evenly distributed? Which ones are the most profitable? It depends on a lot of the data that's included in your MMC account and how much is sinking in, but we think it's a really great feature and something that helps drive a lot of sales insights. I would say it's more geared obviously towards managers and administrators to see that, but even for other team members to be able to see, which records are in a particular territory is helpful, I think, as well. So what we're showing today, by default, it's not included in most Map My Customer subscriptions. So we'll talk at the end a little bit more about how to add it on. And we'll be covering today. Kim will cover everything from a feature perspective. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Kim. Thank you.
Awesome. And like Justin mentioned, we did cover this a couple weeks ago on one of the training or on one of the other workshop Wednesdays. But there are a few things that we'll cover today that are different. There are a few things that we'll probably repeat a little bit, but as always, please feel free to throw questions into the Q&A and we will answer them as we run through. And if there's any questions that kind of stray from the topic, those are good too, or any suggestions, feedback, other topics you want to see. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll dive into today's topics of territories. I'm going to focus today on the web version. So the building of territories is specifically done on the web version of the application. You are able to see territories on mobile if they are manually built. We've got a manual builder and a smart builder. The smart builder creates very complex shapes. So for right now, that is not supported on the mobile app for reasons of load times, load speeds, but we will show both of those, smart builder and the manual build concept, on the territories, which live on your web map in your left-hand sidebar in the territories section. To start out, I am going to turn off all my objects just so we can really focus in on the territories that are living here on the map. I've got some that are already existing here, and you can kind of tell the difference between one that was manually built, like these Southern Virginia, Winston-Salem area, Raleigh-Durham, which are very polygon shaped. They're straight lines, and they're drawn through a pin drop method of kind of manually creating and drawing a shape. You'll also notice I've got some that are very accurate. They're very jagged lines, and that's because for the state of Georgia, in this North Georgia area, I've used something like postal codes or counties to create this specific territory. There is a third mode of building, which is imports. And so we'll actually take a look at all three of those today. Imports was something we did not look at on the first session covering the territories. So we will dive into that a little bit more today. To start off, we'll start with that manual build where you can go ahead and drop pins on the map in order to create a territory. The territories, again, are located on the left side. And when I go to add a new territory, I've got a couple of options. You can either use the territory builder or import from a spreadsheet. I'm going to do a manual build first. So I'm going to start with the territory builder. And then I can choose either the smart builder or that draw mode. So build territories manually by drawing shapes on the map. When I use the draw mode, this is the option that's going to allow me to utilize and show these options and show these territories on my mobile application. If I have a rep that works, say, this West Virginia area, and I want to click and drag and drop these pins around to create this shape, clicked out there. I can go ahead and create a polygon of sorts. You can take and drag and move these extra vertices here to kind of customize and adjust the shape as you've built it. You will notice here I am able to see this Southern Virginia territory. Maybe it is okay if they overlap. Maybe this rep does not overlap with this other user. And I can use those existing bounds, this kind of light faded out Virginia territory that already exists, to kind of work around and make sure I'm not overlapping this territory. You're going to want to give this a name. So maybe this is West Virginia. You can share this directly with one of your team members. You can share this with multiple team members, and you can make decisions around the color or the opacity of this territory based on any kind of preferences of seeing the pins inside or kind of creating a visualization to very easily decipher between the different territories. When I create this out, this is going to create that manual, that kind of polygon shaped territory here. And then if I exit out, I can see how this aligns with my existing territories. The other option when I go into that add territory and I use the territory builder is going to be the smart builder. The smart builder is going to let you build based on postal codes, counties, or states. If you start at the smallest, which being postal codes or zip codes, you can zoom out and use counties or use states. If you start with states, that is the smallest entity, that's the smallest size that you'll be able to focus in on. So I do recommend starting at the smallest denominator, starting at postal codes or starting at counties, if that is kind of how you draw your territories. Even if somebody gets one county in Ohio and then the entire state of Indiana, you would want to start at the county level in that situation. When I come in here, I do have options. So for anyone who might be international, we do support Australia, Canada, UK, and the United States at this point. Anyone who is beyond those, definitely let us know if there is interest there. But those are our kind of 4 territories that we're supporting at this moment. If I come in and say, okay, we don't do it by postal code, but we do it by county, I can select that as kind of the unit of measure. And when I start building out, it's going to show me on the map and break the country into the individual counties. We'll give it a second to load there. But as I start clicking and building, I can create this county-based territory, which is more exact than that polygon that I was drawing. It's really going to let me focus into certain areas. If I say, well, this user has Nebraska, but also the entire state of South Dakota, I can very easily and quickly select these as a state or as a county for myself. And again, if I had selected postal code, I could focus even further into the counties, into the postal code sized territory builds. Once I've built out the territory and I'm satisfied with it, maybe I say this is, Bob's territory or the Southwest territory or whatever I want to give it a name, I can go ahead and hit create territory. In addition to building this from the map, you can also select from a list view. So if you know you're searching for a specific postal code within South Dakota or within Nebraska, I can open this up and look for a specific county or a specific postal code nested within these drop downs here. Again, I can assign this directly from here. However, if I do not assign it right away, that is okay. I can always go back and share this after the fact. Does not look like there's any questions at this moment. So again, if you do, please stop me at any point, but we'll look at the last way to build out our territories, which is through the import. Again, we have not yet done, or in the previous workshop Wednesday, we did not look at the imports. And so I'm going to go ahead and show kind of what that would look like when you are in the builder. So again, this is not going to be the territory builder option. I'm going to go ahead and select the import from spreadsheet option. When you import from a spreadsheet, the first step is selecting what type of areas, what type of breakdown of the segmentation that you are going to be importing. At this point, you cannot import counties and states. You would want to do it either at the county level, at the postal code level, or at the state level. So you are making a decision across the board of how you are doing that. There is a sample file that you can access right here, and I've already downloaded that. And so you can see here, I've got those different samples. I can give the territory a name, and I can then indicate the zip codes, the counties, or the states that are in there. Again, this is just a high level sample, but I've created for myself a much more simple, a quicker one, so we don't have to watch this import for a couple minutes. This will take us just a few seconds. But I've created one here for my different Harry Potter account users. We've got Luna and Draco and Ron, and I have selected the states that they have access to. You might notice here that both Draco and Ron have access to Oklahoma. There is no issue with overlapping territories, overlapping people, because two people cover that territory. Maybe one is a service team member and one is sales, or one is inside, one is outside. You've got different reasons for them overlapping, and that is totally fine. The territories can go over each other. When I do download this file, and I've already downloaded this for myself, I can then upload the file and start creating these territories automatically. I do not need to go in and make Dracos and make Lunas and make Rons. Very easily using this file, uploading the states, or again, the counties or the postal codes, I can come in here and start creating out the territories. Maybe I say black isn't pretty enough, so I'm just going to pick pink. And right from here, I can even select to share these right away. When I go ahead and share these territories, it's breaking down for me, hey, in your spreadsheet, within the Luna Lovegood territory, we found 4 states. Within the Draco territory, there were 2, and with Ron, there was 2. If this looks good, I can go ahead and hit add territories, and it's going to start processing this here. It goes fairly quickly. Again, I've simplified this a lot to make it just those states, but if you've got your counties or your postals, you'll notice in the background, they started creating, and now automatically I've got my Luna Lovegood, my Ron Weasley, and my Draco Malfoy territories. See that there's still no questions in the Q&A, but again, you can access that sample file right from going to import those territories. We do support creating it by state, by postals, or by counties. This is, again, merely an example, so you can use either of those divisions. If you say we don't divide it by postal code, that is totally fine. But this does save you some manual building or some smart builder. Even though the smart builder is fairly easy to use, if you're building out 15, 20, 45 territories, it's going to save you a little bit of time to just run that import. From here, we'll look a little bit more into kind of why we might build territories and different ways that we can edit them. So those are our 3 ways we can create. We can make manual territories, we can use the smart builder, or we can import. Once a territory is created, that might not be set in stone forever. Maybe Ron currently covers the Oklahoma, Arkansas area, or Bob only covers part of Nebraska, but we lose our Nebraska rep. And we say, okay, we need to give Bob all of Nebraska for right now because he's going to be covering for that rep. Somebody goes on maternity leave, somebody retires. We really want to be able to easily adjust these territories without having to get someone like IT involved to say, okay, these Nebraska accounts are now in Bob's territory. If we come back into our territory section and open up Bob's territory, we can very easily come in here and edit this right from the Map My Customers system. If I say, okay, no, now Bob needs all of Nebraska, very easily, I can select this, save those changes, and now that has added to his territory. These can be adjusted, changed as needed. Again, I did it by state, but you could adjust the counties, the postal codes. It can be more granular, but for the sake of kind of concept and understanding, I'm going to keep it pretty high level. But you are able to very quickly and easily adjust this. Now everything that's in Nebraska is suddenly shared with Bob already. You did not need to go in and readjust the ownerships or the group sharing. All I needed to do was very quickly and easily adjust the territory that's existing in the system. To talk a little bit about why we might use a territory, for those who are existing Map My Customers users, you might be familiar with our different types of ownership or different levels of data sharing. For those who are not familiar with Map My Customers, we've got different options of how or why we might share data in one way. The first way that you can share data is going to be through the record owner. If a team member or a manager or the team administrator is the owner of the record, they automatically have access to this record. I'm going to actually move myself into somewhere with a territory. So let's get ourselves into New York here. If I am not necessarily doing ownership directly, but I say, okay, somebody has access to this specific segment of data. Maybe it is the central group or the East Coast group. And anything that falls within the East Coast group is something that a team member has access to. Then I can use that as a method of data sharing. The groups are not necessarily geographic. It could be national accounts. It could be that this person covers all of the gyms or certain industry. But the groups are a way that you can segment out the data by label or by flagging them in a certain way, and data can be shared this way. The new way that we've now introduced is that territory. The one benefit of adding a territory or utilizing the territories for sharing is that it's automated. For me here in this greater New York territory, any new record that gets added within this territory is automatically going to be shared with this user. The user who has access to the greater New York area, if something new gets added from myself as the administrator, or if they add something, it's automatically in the territory. The groups take a little bit more of manual maintenance. So if you want something to be group shared, somebody might forget to add it to their East Coast group, but there's no way to forget to add it to the territory. It's kind of automated for you based on the geographic location. So if you are importing new data or you have an integration set up that's moving data into this geographic field, it would automatically get shared with the user who has access to the greater New York area. Something else that we've covered previously, but I just want to highlight it once more, and something that can be done with the territories is the data view. When I am looking at my map or my list view or I lasso an area, the data view is a way for me to very easily understand aggregate information about the group of data that I'm looking at. Oh, let me turn this on really quick. There we go. In this greater New York territory, I can see that I now have this blue button for the data view. When I click into the data view, it is going to aggregate out that information for me. Maybe I know that my rep who works this territory is supposed to have 40% or so of tier A's, 30% tier B's, and the rest can be tier C's or D's or not classified. Very quickly, I can look at this and say, you know what, you do not have enough tier A's in your territory. I need you to rework how you are tiering them out. I can kind of see what that breakdown looks like. And this can be done for any of your multi-select or single select fields. So if you open this and you see that this is product C, and you know that anyone who buys product C is a good fit for product B or a new product that we're looking at, you can very easily identify and see, okay, we've got a lot of tier C or product C in this area, or again, any of the other drop-down options. If you know that Lead Finder is a very important tool for your team and you want people to be prospecting out in the field, I can see where that source is from, web, mobile, imports, or integrations. And I can say, okay, my rep is not prospecting. They are not using the Lead Finder. I might want to talk to them and say, hey, why aren't we prospecting in the field? This dropdown would contain your fields. These are my test fields. So things like company status, lead type, account type. But you've also got things like year-to-date sales. And so if you've got a numeric value, like Justin mentioned before, are we breaking down our territories properly? If you've got one territory that has about 18 million of potential sales or year-to-date sales, and then you have another territory that has a 500,000. Is it that this rep is significantly better? Is this rep doing a lot more? Or does this rep have greater New York City area and the other rep has the middle of Arkansas and just has much less opportunity? So are these evenly divided? Are we giving people the same chance and opportunity to kind of close sales? The data view, again, is here on the map from the territory view. We have seen it before by lassoing an area or selecting it from the list view. So just again, reiterating this feature that does exist. And if you do build out those territories, you can kind of get aggregate metrics or numbers around the data.
If I could add one thing, Kim.
Yes, go ahead.
One thing is that the data view also is visible when you're editing a territory. So that is not as helpful here on the drawn ones, but for your county ones, you could click to add a county or add a zip code to see how does that impact. And as far as team administrators, if you are doing this, you can, when these territories are not shared with individual team members, it's not visible. So it's something that an administrator could look and see, what does this look like, and get a sense of what, and try and plan that out. So obviously a lot of organizations have their territories already set up. They could send us a national list of their zip codes or counties, and then that's helpful for them to, they can just get that imported. But for companies that don't have really clearly defined territories, this allows you to build out and see, what does this even look like, and kind of do some planning before maybe formally launching it with the sales team to see how does that impact adding, as we're looking here, we don't have a ton of records in that particular area, but yeah, the data view does work as you're editing and building territories too. It's not just on the finished product.
Awesome. The last thing I want to highlight here and kind of talk through, that was just something we did not cover, it was not ready on our first session for the workshop Wednesday, is you now do have the ability to filter by the territory. It's now become an element of the record. So when I do open up the record view here, I do see territory is North Georgia. So that has come into play for all of my fields, all of my filter areas, where I can filter by territory is North Georgia or Bob's territory or Greater New York. I can filter out the map by this specific territory. So if this is something that's helpful for reporting purposes, it's still in those reporting, those export filters. It's just something else that you can utilize now on the map in your exports, in your reports, is to just quickly filter out by a specific territory. Anything else to add from your side, Justin?
Just that, yeah, those territory columns appear on exports and the records page as well.
Yes, so if I come in here, I think I'm already filtering by a territory, but I can add that column and see which territories these are in. I can even take that off and see which ones are in certain territories.
All right. I think that's it in terms of information we had to cover today. Are there any questions before we wrap up? If not, please go ahead and put it in the chat and the Q&A if you have any. I'll go ahead and share information on how to sign up. There is, I was seeing if I could post a link, but the chat here is a little different and when you're a host. But in any instance, I would say the main thing is to contact a member of our customer success team. If you have an individual account, personal account, this can be added. Our support team can help you. For team accounts, you can reach out to your customer success manager or email support@mycustomers.me and we'll get you to the right person. But essentially, we can go through this with you and look at in terms of what it would look like to add it to your account. If you access this feature now, you'll see there's kind of a pop-up and an interest form. Feel free to fill out the interest form too. And we can give you more information, give you a personalized demo, answer any questions, and provide pricing. So we hope that this is a beneficial feature for everyone. And for those who are using it, that you're getting value out of it. If you have any questions related to territories or kind of just optimizing how your sales team's organized, please reach out to us. We'd love to talk through that with you, whether it's related to territories or not. So all right, well, I think that's it for today. Appreciate everyone joining us today. Mary will be back next week, but we will too. But thanks for hanging with us for Mary's well-deserved week off, and we will see you again next week. All right, thank you.
Bye. Thank you, guys.